How did the greatest pirates in One Piece get their scars? Renato here. Today we're only talking about the tough ones, the real monsters of One Piece, who usually have some serious scars, and some of them are even controversial, you know? In fact, let's start with some controversy, with none other than Luffy-sama, the protagonist, the Straw Hat himself. He has two main scars, right? I don't remember if there are any others, but those are the main ones. One on his eye and another on his chest. The one on his eye isn't really controversial. Everyone knows it happened when Luffy was still a kid, to prove his courage to Shanks' crew, because he really wanted to become a pirate, right? He wanted to join Shanks' crew, but they didn't want to take him because he was just a boy. So, to prove his courage, he grabs a knife and stabs himself in the eye. But that situation didn't really work out, because right after, he starts crying, you know? And it messed everything up. It ruined the whole tough guy moment for him. So that's where we see that little scar he has under his eye here, kind of stitched up, right? Now, his second scar, the one on his chest or stomach, that one is really controversial. The scar is shaped like an X, so it kind of looks like it was made by something sharp, right? So a lot of people attribute Luffy's scar to Zoro, because there's an episode of One Piece where Zoro makes a cut on Luffy in the exact shape of an X, right on Luffy's chest where his scar is. And what did most people say about that? That Zoro was the one who made the scar on Luffy, and later, Akainu, the other person credited with giving Luffy his scar, just reopened it. But actually, that episode where Zoro makes the scar on Luffy's chest is nothing more than a filler. So yes, canonically, the one who gave Luffy the entire scar, not just part of it, was Akainu. This happens back during the Marineford War, when after Ace dies, Luffy is left in shock, right? He's unable to do anything, and everyone has to step in to protect him. First, Marco jumps in to defend him from Akainu's first attack. Then Jinbe runs off with him in his arms, but even so, Akainu catches up to them, right? And he smashes both of them with a magma punch that goes right through Jinbe. I still have no idea how he survived that hit, and it goes through Luffy too. And why did it end up in an X shape? I don't know either. I guess it just looked cooler than just a ball of magma. But yes, canonically, the one who gave Luffy that scar was Akainu. And if you disagree, I ask that you leave your argument and proof in the comments showing that what you're saying is correct, that it was Zoro. And before we talk about the second character, I just wanted to leave a quick message for you all. There's a link in the description to my course, The Secret of Short Videos. If you want to be a YouTuber, want to have more success with your short videos, want to get millions of views, and learn how to make successful short videos, the link is in the description. Continuing with the video, Roronoa Zoro, the first mate of our dear Luffy-sama, following in his captain's footsteps, also has two scars. Actually, they're pretty similar. One on his eye and another on his chest. And there's also a bit of controversy about one of Zoro's scars, right? But let's start first with the one that's not controversial, which, unlike Luffy, for Zoro it's the scar on his chest, which he got in one of his first fights with Dracula Mihawk. Zoro was still kind of a kid back then, right? Thinking he could take on a Shichibukai, one of the most powerful swordsmen in the world. Poor guy didn't even know what Haki was at that time. Zoro goes up against him and Akainu. Wait, not Akainu. And Mihawk, with just a toothpick, totally wrecks Zoro. And at the end of the duel, after Zoro lost, so he wouldn't get struck on the back, Zoro puts away his last sword, right? The one he still had left. He opens up his chest and says, "Do it." He opens his guard just so he can receive the blow head on and go for it. Mihawk grants Zoro's request, but he doesn't cut him too deeply, right? He just gives him a basic little scar there, but tells Straw Hat that he'll survive. He just needs to be taken care of properly, right? So that's when Zoro gets his first scar, that cut on his chest. His second scar, which has sparked some controversy, though not as much as Luffy's, is the scar on Zoro's eye, which still hasn't been explained to this day. We know what happens during the time skip, right? While everyone goes off to train, specifically, Zoro goes to train with Mihawk, and then we only see him again with that scar and his eye closed. We don't really know how it happened, but there are some theories. The two main ones are that this cut might have happened during training with Mihawk, where the tough swordsman messed up his eye. And the second theory is that Zoro did it to himself. Now, why? Nobody knows. Maybe it has something to do with his eye having some special power that we still don't know about yet. So, tell me, what do you think about Zoro's eye scar? What's your theory? Next up, another badass who sports a scar the size of the world on his face is the red-haired Akagami no Shanks. The guy, one of the 4 emperors, one of the most powerful pirates in One Piece, has a scar as big as a pearl over his eye. Unlike Zoro, he can still open his eye, right? Zoro never opened it again. And also, unlike Zoro, with Shanks' scar, we know exactly where it came from. It was from a clash with Teach, before Teach had the Yami Yami no Mi, back when he still fought with those Wolverine-like claws. Continuing with our list, we have Kaido, the immortal beast, the little monster, one of the most powerful beings ever to appear in One Piece, who sported a scar the size of a boulder, maybe even bigger than Luffy, from a double slash across his stomach. For a long time, we didn't know what that scar was from. What could have managed to cut Kaido, such a powerful beast, and so deeply, right? But now we know that this scar was caused by none other than Oden. This fight takes place in Wano, while Oden was trying to protect his country from Kaido's domination. To do that, he fights Kaido and gives him the huge scar on his stomach. It would have been an amazing fight, and we don't know who would have come out on top, since the guy managed to injure Kaido so badly, right? But in the end, he ends up being defeated in a cowardly way, doesn't he? And last but not least, the man who made the Navy tremble, Whitebeard, the toughest old man in One Piece, a man who bore countless scars all over his body. Of course, I'm talking about the scars he had before Marineford, right? Because at Marineford, he got a few more, but they didn't even have time to become scars, since the man was already gone. But he was already carrying a bunch of scars throughout the whole anime. But up until then, we also never knew who the heck had managed to give so many scars to a monster like that, right? But now we also know that those scars were caused by none other than Figureland Gallant, none other than the former leader of the Holy Knights, who are going to be the next villains, right? The Straw Hat's adversaries in upcoming arcs. So today this guy here, yeah, he's another old man too, is definitely, without a doubt, a monster who went toe-to-toe with Whitebeard in some fight back in their younger days. But let me know in the comments, what did you think of this video? Did I say anything dumb or not? Leave your opinion down below. I want to hear it. That's it for me. See you next. Thanks.